Microsoft just reported Xbox sales for the holiday shopping season. Let's talk about them. What's up, everybody? Brad here. And Microsoft today released their earnings, as a company does every quarter. And overall, Microsoft had a really strong quarter, about $11 billion in net income, which is the money that they put into the bank. But here we are to talk about Xbox. If you want a deeper dive into all the other information, click the link below and you can get the inside scoop on that kind of stuff. But Microsoft Xbox holiday sales, they weren't so good, but it's honestly not all that surprising. Actually, gaming revenue was down a bunch, 21%. And Microsoft very specifically points out one reason why: Fortnite. Well, they don't say Fortnite, but they say one particular title when they talk about additional spending. Fortnite revenue was down clearly, and that really materially hurt the Xbox brand. They say content and services decreased 11%, but they did say, as a glimmer of hope here, is that partially offset by subscription growth. They're actually pointing that as a positive sign that Game Pass clearly, potentially Xbox Live Gold, but I would think there would have to be Game Pass growth is starting to actually trickle in and materialize in a way. But they also pointed out that Xbox hardware revenue decreased 43%, primarily due to a decrease in volume and price of consoles sold. If you remember, they were running some deals for the Xbox One All Digital Edition, putting it about $150. So again, they're selling less consoles and they're selling them at a lower price point. Not all that surprising. Total gaming revenue for 2019 for Microsoft was $10.3 billion, which was down from $11.5 billion in 2018. Not all that surprising given the news announced today. So let's kind of break it apart here. One, we're at the end of a generation of a console sales. Remember, in December, Microsoft actually announced the Xbox Series X. They've been talking about Anaconda for about 6 months to a year at that point. And so we're at the end of a cycle. This is somewhat expected. I don't think Microsoft was expecting maybe the revenue to drop this much, but primarily they were just latched onto the back of Fortnite. That's why they released a Fortnite edition, because they saw the massive spending and they wanted to try to capitalize upon that with the, I believe it was an Xbox One edition, or One S, that was that purple one back in June. And so Microsoft was trying to capitalize upon that and keep that cash flow coming, because they don't even have to do anything. They just sit there and sell the digital goods. But that revenue is clearly starting to fall off a bit, and it's starting to show up in ways. Now, you can look at it from a different perspective, that they made about $10 billion of the year. That's like roughly $2.5 billion per quarter. That's not chump change. I mean, that is a decent amount of revenue, but overall, Microsoft did about $36 billion, I believe, in revenue as a company. So it's a small portion of Microsoft's overall pool, but it's not insignificant. $2 billion a quarter, nothing to shake. I'll take $2 billion if they don't want it. Anyways, so not the greatest quarter for Xbox. Not all that surprising. It's the end of the generation. Microsoft is hyping up the Xbox One or Xbox Series X already, and they are just kind of looking forward to that. Phil Spencer has been spending a lot of money on studios, building up this hardware, chasing down a better path for Xbox. And so I expect that we'll see this decline continue, more than likely all the way up until roughly the Xbox launches sometime in the late fall, potentially very early winter. I'm thinking like October timeframe, somewhere around there seems to make sense for when they're going to launch the next generation console, which means that, hey, there's not a whole lot of reasons to why a last gen console leading up to that date. So there you go, guys. That is the look at how Xbox shaked out over the holiday season. Not the best of numbers, but candidly, I think we all would have been shocked if we saw major growth in anything other than essentially Fortnite revenue at this point. Because why would tons of people go out and buy Xbox Ones, especially a One S at this point? I could see why somebody might buy Xbox One X. Still a great console. You get some 4K gaming, but we're on the cusp of the next generation console. Microsoft knows that. Everybody else knows that. Revenue was down. That's my best explanation I've got for why revenue decreased as much as it did. Overall, though, Microsoft is still a very, very healthy company financially. This is not like shaking the ground underneath the brand by any capacity. And so there you go. There's your first look at the Xbox revenue for the holiday season.